I need to save my own life right now because I just ran out in the line of gunfire. Everyone just saw that. And so I'm Aaron. I'm 33 years old, and I grew up in Great Neck, Long Island, New York. It all started October 7th, like most unfortunate stories that you'll hear about, from previous weeks, from weeks to come. I was in Las Vegas at a conference, actually. So I'm a chief marketing officer at a startup. It's called Hyro. We're an AI startup. We actually work with hospitals, ironically. I was at a conference for digital health, so it's interesting to have come full circle a bit. And I landed in Las Vegas, and I had 20 missed calls from my wife. And everything had started to kind of unravel. So, the truck in Sderot, there's an infamous video, right? That white truck with terrorists in Sderot, which everyone thought was surreal. It's impossible. What? How could this be happening, right? So I, was on the phone with Delta trying to figure out if my flight's going to happen. Can I move it? Can I come back early? It was impossible to get straight answers, and then they canceled my flight. So I was stuck in Vegas for a few days. And while that's happening, we got called up. So I'm part of Givati. We're Southern Command. We trained our entire service for Gaza. I came here in late 2009 to join the IDF. And so I've been in Givati almost 14 years, which is wild to think about. And I was proud that they entrusted us to do that. I was proud that they called us up as early as they did. And so I got back as early as I could. My wife was petrified, of course. She was advising me not to come back, but that's her job, right? My job is to then repel all of those thoughts and do my job, which is to be a combat soldier. But her job is to worry and call me and tell me there's alternative paths which are safer. And I didn't, of course, take those paths because my duty is to protect this country. And I remember I told her, like, after she had called me a few times and it got to be, I said, all right, enough. So I told her that, I thought of Noah Argomani actually on the bike. And I told her that this video plays in my head over and over. The video of Noah when she looks at the camera. She looks absolutely petrified. Like, beyond scared. It's a horror movie. It's the best. If it was an actor or an actress, right, and you'd be like, wow, it's some of the best acting I've ever seen, but it's fucking real. Yeah. We're folding in front of our eyes. And I saw that video about 100 times in Las Vegas, in between meetings with big companies and clients. And I'm not really functioning. I'm just waiting to get the flight back. But I watched that video 100 times, and I told her, if that was you on the bike, God forbid, and, there were men in this country that were called up to serve that just ditched their responsibilities, I'd be heartbroken that no one in this country cared enough for my loved ones to go and get them back. And that was kind of the punctuation mark that ended all of the, her hesitation for me to come back. I think she understood after that. So I did come back. What ended up, right, being this chaotic, what ended up being the points of chaos during this transformation was we were told we were going in, and then told we were not, and told we were going in, and then we were not. And that's just part of war, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are being evaluated in order to understand when is the ideal time to execute the ground operation. But of course, we were sitting there, just kind of, antsy, ready to go. And you could see, it was incredible to watch. You could see how certain people flipped at certain moments, transformed into combat soldiers. I think when I walked through the gate of Gaza, I understood that's all I should care about, is being a combat soldier, that my focus needs to be not on my job, or my friends, or the political situation, or my wife, or nothing. Just survive, right? Survive and complete the mission. So that really, the weight of that sunk in when I crossed through the apocalyptic gate of Gaza. Some soldiers enter by vehicle. We entered on foot. And so each step, you're consciously walking right towards danger. There are some soldiers who that also freaked them out, and then there are some who really sunk into that role as we were performing, that march into Gaza. We walked about 6 kilometers from kibbutz Erez, and that's how close it is, right? We walked 6 kilometers and ended up right at the front line, the first line of houses in Beit Hanun in the north of the Gaza Strip. As we were walking in, there were tons of mortar shells. And walking through that gate, it was like entering the upside down. It was like entering Mordor, right? If I'm using pop culture references. I mean, it's like the air is thick all of a sudden. There's explosions. Everything's orange. There's these orange explosions in a gray sky. And the smell changes. There's a smell. There's an air of destruction. There's an air of terror, right? This is the Gaza Strip. This is a place that, unfortunately, is a playground of terrorism, and you feel it. You feel it engulfs you the second you walk through that gate. So we get to the front line of the houses, and immediately we're attacked. Our battalion. So I'm with the paramedic. My job, I'm part of the squad that's called the Chapak Samech. So our job is essentially to keep soldiers in line from the back, and also if there's someone who's injured, we're supposed to take them out. So we're watching all of this unfold from the back. One of the platoons goes first. They get ambushed by a group of Hamas soldiers. There's anti-tank missiles, there's RPGs, there's more sniper fire, there's AK-47s, and this is how we start. There's immediate chaos, and we repel that attack. They come back towards where we are. Then we move forward to take over the houses that we were fired from. So we already had resistance from day one, but they're cowards. So they pop out. They do 2 to 3 minutes of warfare. They shoot. They're not very accurate. That day, nobody was seriously critically injured, and thank God nobody was killed. And then they pop. They go back down. So they use their tunnels. They pop out. They do 2 to 3 minutes of some kind of attack. And that's it. It's kind of like fighting ghosts. You feel the intensity of a firefight. I mean, they're shooting. Mm-hmm. It's not as if there are no explosions, and it's not as if there aren't bullets flying above your head. But we have the confidence to know that we're better combat soldiers than they are. And if we do things right, if we don't make mistakes, we're going to win. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to win. You can see that now in the Gaza Strip. The IDF is not losing the war. We're just, unfortunately, putting people in dangerous situations, and not everything is perfect. There are mistakes that are made. And most of the time, Hamas is benefiting from our mistakes. It's not as if they themselves are great combat soldiers or know how to fight better than us, and I don't give them any of that credit. I think the fact that I live here, and we'll get to that in a second, is because we made mistakes, unfortunately, and Hamas, they kind of benefit from those. So I was there for 2 weeks before I got injured. Most of what we did is go house to house, and we were looking for tunnels. So our job was twofold: find and oust Hamas terrorists, find and destroy tunnels. Obviously, we don't destroy the tunnels, we're combat soldiers, but find the tunnels so that combat engineering in the Air Force can come and start to eliminate some of this terror network they've created underground. So we would go house to house. I was in about 20 houses, I want to say, in the Gaza Strip during this, during my 2-week stint there. And out of the 20 houses, I think 19 were connected to terrorism in some way. So there was one house, a human being, I can say this, right? There's one house where I walked in and I was thinking to myself, maybe they didn't deserve this. Maybe they were complicit in this ridiculous terror playground that exists in Beit Hanun. But that's one out of 20. The other 19, pictures of people with Kalashnikovs, pictures of people, in Hamas uniforms. We found ammunition in a child's closet, RPGs. We found in a kitchen a small, basically hiding spot where they were also, storing guns. There was a house that was actually a complete decoy. So there was a house that we went into that looked affluent. We were expecting, right, to maybe use that house as a bunker even because of the way it looked, and it was so, it was just kind of left intact. And we went in and there was nothing there. It was just concrete and a tunnel entrance. So it was a decoy. The house was built just so that the Air Force wouldn't understand that there's, a tunnel connected to it. And this is real. I mean, this is, we talk about this stuff all the time, but witnessing it firsthand is, of course, something completely different. We went into a commander's house of Hamas. So he's, in our language in Hebrew, we would call him a mempeh. So in charge of about 100 Hamas combatants in the Gaza Strip. There are houses that are left intact because they're not sure what's inside, and they want us to actually do the reconnaissance required to understand, gather information, understand better who we're fighting. And if you just destroy everything, it's very hard to then uncover where the tunnels actually are. So you're leaving them intact. Maybe you're making it harder for them to get out or get in, but you're leaving the network intact. So we have to find these tunnel entrances. You can't just flatten everything and hope that it'll go away. We need to destroy them one by one. Now, the house we went into, this commander for Hamas, we found an Al-Shifa doctor's badge. So there you go, ding, ding, ding. We know that that's a doctor who's probably going to meetings at Al-Shifa with his Hamas commander. We found an UNRWA vest. For those who don't know, UNWRA. So that's an organization that's under the guise of protecting Palestinian lives and humanitarian aid and providing education, etc. But we found a lot of those vests, and we found a lot of those vests, unfortunately, in the houses of people who are complicit with terrorism. So, that was another one. We found maps of the tunnels in that same house, and we gave all that information to our intelligence units. And then they would come back and actually tell us what that information had helped uncover. They found a spy in East Jerusalem through that same house. So we found someone connected any kind of campaign to delegitimize what is known to be one of the most extensive, complex tunnel network, right? Maybe in the world. It's just misinformation. We were moving house to house. Our goal was to get to Jabalia, to meet other forces there. So we were trying to squeeze. We had 2 kilometers, they had 3 kilometers, depends. But it's not that far. But when you do that and you're going house to house and you're actually using that movement to do reconnaissance and investigate each house, and it takes time. And I liked that it took time. We really were going at a fantastic pace, and the forces in the IDF were working well together. So we're combat infantry. We worked amazing with the tanks unit. We worked amazing with the D9s, the demolition unit. We worked amazing with the Air Force and the drone information that we were getting. With artillery, with combat engineering, I felt like it was the first time in my, weird to say, 14-year career, but I felt like it was the first time I'd seen the power of the IDF on display. And it was inspired. The meticulousness of what the IDF is doing is lost on the world because of a civilian death toll, which obviously has a huge asterisk next to it, considering that it's reported on by Hamas's own health ministry. So, with the IDF is operating under insane circumstances, and the way that we moved and the way that we operated made me feel like everything is taken into account. Everything is methodological, really well thought out. And we were doing good work. We found 6 tunnels. We found all of this information surrounding Hamas units. We found files on how they thought that we would enter Gaza, which we gave to intelligence also. Just doing really good work, going house to house. And there was one day where we were meant to cross. We were meant to cross a school, which was also an UNRWA school, of course. And that school was an area of interest for us. We know that they use schools, hospitals, places of worship, places we consider sanctuaries. They use those as their own battlegrounds they'll take what we consider off limits and, make those something that's fully in balance. And for us, as Westerners, as people from the US or from Canada or whatever it is, people with Western values find this to be hard, very difficult for them to understand, to believe. How would you put weapons depots, right, under where 5-year-olds are learning, playing with building blocks, whatever it is? But that's a classic Hamas move because they know that we don't think that way and operate that way, and they know that's, for us, something that we have to tiptoe around, something that we usually wouldn't touch, right? But there's a school that's standing, and we think that it's a dangerous place. The day this happened to me, the day that I found myself injured, we were moving in full sight of that school. We were meant to take a position. The position was a house that required us crossing a path that was about 120 meters from the school, adjacent to it, and it left us pretty exposed. But those were our orders. We respected those orders, and we did it. As we were crossing, my officer stopped to ask permission to go into the house. Remember that we're the last to cross, so we're the squad that's the closing force. We make sure that everyone safely got to where they need to go, right? So we're the last ones to cross, and he stops about 20 meters from this house to ask permission to go in. That's protocol. He did the right thing. But what he said, that's what he was going to do. Something inside me felt totally off. I felt like someone was watching me, so I told him, well, Lee, there's no way we're stopping in front of this fucking school. And I took the person with me, and I walked him to the house. We're in the reserves, so we allow ourselves a little bit of leeway in the way that we approach and talk more often. And when I got to the house, and I turned around to see where he was, did he follow me? Did he not? It wasn't. We were walking, right? It's not as if we were just expecting to be fired upon at that moment. So I turned around to see where he was, and as I'm turning around, I heard 2 bullets, and I saw at the same time. I saw them go down, my commander and also his comms person that was with him. And they were both on the ground. It was pretty surreal to me, but I didn't have really any time to think about that because we were in the middle of a firefight. So all of a sudden, the school erupts. There's about 2 to 4 operatives shooting AK-47s, and there's a sniper behind them, trying to shoot, more accurately. And I rip off my bag and I start shooting at the school. Now, it's a huge building in Bet Hanun. It's like, if it's a building in New York City, you think it's tiny, but in Bet Hanun, it's a pretty big landmark there. So I'm shooting at the school, but I don't really know where they are. Again, they're like ghosts. So I hear AK-47s, there's the sniper behind them, and I'm shooting. After a few minutes, I look over at my officer, and he looks terrible. And I thought he was alive, but had fainted. I didn't know that he was actually killed. So he, unfortunately, him shot in the head, and instantly was killed by the sniper. And when I looked at him, I didn't know that. I've never seen a dead body before. So for me, I'm an optimistic human being, and I thought that I could save his life. So we ran, try and pull him out, to try and get him back. There's another soldier with him as well on the floor. But I thought that, that person looked like they were okay and that they could crawl themselves back to the house. I made the decision to go after my officer. And when I ran over to him and tried to pull him up, he's a pretty heavy guy. He had his bag, he had his vest. I maybe got a few feet on him, to try and bring him back towards the house. But as I'm lifting him up, I'm in the line of fire for the sniper, and he shoots me in my right leg. So very quickly, I wasn't of use to my command.
You got shot. Assume it's the first time you got shot.
definitely the first time I got shot.
Oh, I've never been and will not be shot. What do you feel?
Hope it's the last time that I
Helps with too.
So I think it depends where you get shot. I can't speak to all those who get a bullet wound, but for me it was like a cannonball. It's a sniper. The bullet's bigger. Usually it takes off a leg. In this case, it went into my right leg, shattered my bone, and made a huge hole. And it felt like my right leg was gone. So I thought I lost my leg. And so when I was on the ground, I was like, okay, the leg is off. That's how I felt. My leg is off. Felt like a cannonball, just like, And I was like, all right, I need to save my own life right now because I just ran out in the line of gunfire. Everyone just saw that, and they're correct for doing this, but soldiers shouldn't then run out to try and save me. Now you'll just create more and more wounded. So understanding that, and I'm lucky I understood it as quickly as I did, I started to crawl. My Hebrew was terrible in boot camp, so as a lone soldier, they used to always they used to tell me to get on the ground and crawl every time I make a mistake, and I made like 20 mistakes a day. It's like an expert crawler, and that's what I did. And I was pretty fast, but they still got me in my left leg as well. And I'm super lucky. The bullet went through muscle, so in and out in my left leg. I didn't even know I got shot at the time, but they told me about it the next day. And I got all this debris in my lower back and in my side, but I was fine. Just kept going, and I got to the house and they pulled me in, and they gave me a lot of drugs so I would, so I wouldn't start to feel the pain, because at that time you asked if it hurt. So the adrenaline is insane, but it can wear off. So I'm lucky I got to the house as fast as I did. 669 search and rescue came and got us out. Came with Hummers and a helicopter. That was November 14th. Our search and rescue teams are so good that I was actually here 2.5 hours after I was shot in surgery. I wish the result was different. I went through all the plays in my head. So like most people, especially that's kind of the way I'm wired, is like to play it over and see, okay, what kind of feedback can I take from this, or how would it have been different if I had done XYZ instead of. And I'm so lucky, more than even the fact that my leg will heal 100%, I'm so lucky that no matter what I would have done, I couldn't have actually saved him. In a way that's weird to say, but I'm lucky that I don't have to regret anything. So I ran and tried to save him, but I couldn't no matter what I would have done. And now I get to recover 100%, having done the right thing. It's not a trivial story. Like I know how lucky that is. And I'm very, very grateful for all of that. And if it was different, of course, I wish that he was in a place to be saved. You know what I mean? But the fact that I tried and couldn't save him because there was nothing I could do is the best case scenario I could have had. I was going nuts. I was going absolutely fucking insane, right? You're sitting here while the guys are still in, and they're motivated because, we were injured and our second in command of the platoon was killed. And so they're fired up, and they're inside during the ceasefire. And then, they're moving towards Jabalia, where it's becoming increasingly more dangerous than Beit Hanun. And of course, it weighs on us a ton. And there are people here who can't wait to get back to their unit. There are also people here that can't wait to get back to their normal lives. So I think it really depends on who you ask. But of course, there's a desire to go back. My unit's actually out now of Gaza. They got out 2 weeks ago. We celebrated. And there were 4 soldiers injured that day. And we had an amazing event together. And everyone danced around us. And it was beautiful. And at the same time, it's bizarre, right? Here we are celebrating coming out of Gaza, knowing that they'll probably have to go back in a few months. and that there are other Givati soldiers that are still there, or friends, right? Friends of friends. Like, so we feel it still goes on. And despite us being out mentally, a lot of us are still. I had a hunch, something weird, an itch maybe. Also, I had it when we crossed the school that something was going to happen. And while it was in Las Vegas, there was just this weird air about everything. But despite all of that, I would do it again. I think that this is the role we have to play. That there are people who have to go to Gaza. Some of us will be in dangerous situations. Some of us won't. Some of us will fire a gun. Some of us won't. Some of us throw a grenade, and some of us won't. But we need to do it. We need to be there. And if everyone thought, they'd done enough, or everyone thought someone else will do it, then no one's going to guard the borders. And unfortunately, as a survivalist nation, it's just something that we can't accept. So I'm proud to be a part of the fighting force, and we'll see what's next. I don't know how long this will take. So maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. But I'll keep fighting in different ways, whether it's combat or it's content or it's fundraising or it's politics. I don't know, but I'll keep fighting for, in whatever way I can. Don't feel bad for a second. If you can't move to Israel, that's fine. If you can't fight in the IDF, that's fine. If you can't be a part of what's happening with fundraising, etc., if you don't have the means, that's fine. Every Jew has, I think, a point of maximum impact that they can get. My issuance to the Jewish people right now, my decree for them, right, is to find that maximum point of impact right now. Don't wait, because it's needed now more than ever. Find the maximum point of impact that you can give to the Jewish tribe, to the Hebrew people. And that can be in so many different ways, right? If it's putting up posters in New York, amazing. If it's baking challah, great. If it's donating $3 million to the IDF, incredible. Find a maximum point of impact. Everyone moves here, we're screwed. If every Jew moves to Israel, that's the truth. That's how I feel. If every Jew moves here, we're screwed. There's this feeling now that anti-Semitism is growing. It's growing so, right? It's growing so much that, and it is. That's true. It's a fact. But there's this feeling that because it's so insane right now, and because it's 1,000% more in the U.S. and 400% more in France, whatever it is, that all Jews should now move to Israel because it's safer. But we're safer with global Jewry. We're safer when we have multiple places from which to operate. We're safer when we have support from U.S. Jews that can get us drones that we can't get here. In my opinion, Jews need to find their point of maximum impact, and it doesn't mean necessarily moving to Israel. There's no wrong way, in my opinion, to be a very impactful Jew today. The only question is, are you doing enough? And do you feel you're doing enough? For non-Jewish people, I encourage you to dedicate maybe even 15 to 20 minutes for a coffee with a Jewish person this month and just hear from their mouth to your ears what the hell's going on in our world. Okay, start there. It's pretty simple. Try a coffee.